You're listening to the Chapter a Day Bible Study. I'm John Stange, and today we're in Exodus 25, Contributions for the Sanctuary. Exodus 25 shows the continued development of God's relationship with the people of Israel. God has rescued his people from slavery, he's entered into covenant with them, and he's given them his law. And now he turns their attention to something deeply relational. He invites them to build a place where he will dwell among them. This chapter isn't mainly about furniture or measurements, even though you'll see those things in this chapter. It's about a holy God choosing to live with a redeemed people. And when we read it carefully, we can see how every detail points us forward to Jesus. And I think some of these details might actually surprise you. Now, the chapter opens with God's gracious invitation. In verse 2, we read, "Tell the people of Israel to take from me a contribution. From every man whose heart moves him, you shall receive the contribution for me." The tabernacle isn't built through coercion or pressure. It's built through willing hearts. God doesn't need Israel's resources, but he invites their participation. Grace always comes before giving. The people give because they've already been redeemed, not in order to earn redemption. God then explains the purpose behind these offerings. In verse 8 we read, "And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst." This is the heartbeat of the chapter. The Creator of heaven and earth chooses to dwell with his people. He isn't distant or detached. He moves toward them. The tabernacle becomes a visible reminder that God desires relationship, not just obedience. The first item described is the Ark of the Covenant. It's a wooden chest overlaid with pure gold, and it's designed to hold the testimony God gives Moses. The ark represents God's throne among Israel, and above it sits the mercy seat. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more about the mercy seat in just a moment, but before we get to that, let's read what God says. In verse 22, he says, "Then I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat I will speak with you." The place where God meets his people is marked by mercy. Now, the mercy seat was the solid gold cover placed on top of the Ark of the Covenant inside the tabernacle. It was the place where God said he would meet with his people. Once a year, on the Day of Atonement, the high priest sprinkled sacrificial blood on the mercy seat, and he did this to make atonement for Israel's sins. The Ark held the law that exposed sin, and the mercy seat covered it, showing that mercy stood between God's holiness and the people's guilt. And in the New Testament, this is fascinating. In the New Testament, Jesus is described as our mercy seat. We see this in Romans 3:25. Through his blood, God's justice is satisfied, and his mercy is displayed, giving us direct access to his presence through Christ. That means Christ himself becomes our place of meeting with God. Again, Romans 3:25 tells us that God put Jesus forward as a propitiation or mercy seat by his blood. In fact, the word translated propitiation in the New Testament is the same word used in the Greek Old Testament for mercy seat. Where the ark once stood as the center of God's presence, Jesus now stands as the living fulfillment. We don't meet God through furniture or ritual. We meet him through a Savior who bore our sin and invites us near. Coming back to Exodus 25, we also see that God gives instructions for the table of the bread of the presence. This table held 12 loaves, representing the 12 tribes of Israel. The bread symbolized God's provision and his ongoing fellowship with his people. God wasn't just present among them, he sustained them daily. Life with him was meant to be nourishing and relational. In John chapter 6, verse 35, Jesus picks up this imagery when he declares, "I am the bread of life." So just as the bread in the tabernacle reminded Israel that God sustains his people, Jesus shows us that true life is found in him alone. We don't live by bread alone. We live by trusting the one who gave his life for us. When we come to Christ, we find provision that goes far deeper than physical needs. Now, the final piece described in Exodus 25 is the golden lampstand. It's made from one piece of pure gold, and it was designed to give light inside the tabernacle. Without it, the priests would be unable to serve because they wouldn't be able to see. God's dwelling place wasn't meant to be dark. It was meant to be illuminated. Now, again, Jesus fulfills this picture perfectly. He says, I am the light of the world. We see this in John chapter 8, verse 12. In him, darkness doesn't have the final word. He reveals truth, he exposes sin, and he guides his people in the way that they should go. Just as the lampstand enabled service in God's presence, Jesus enables us to walk faithfully with God today. Now, throughout Exodus 25, God repeatedly emphasizes obedience to his design. In verse 9, he says, exactly as I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle, so you shall make it. God's instructions aren't arbitrary. They reflect his holiness and his purposes. He knows what it takes for sinful people to dwell near a holy God. That tension is ultimately resolved in Jesus. Where the tabernacle required layers of separation, Jesus tears the veil. Where access was limited, Jesus opens the way. Where sacrifices were repeated, Jesus offers himself once for all. Exodus 25 shows us the beginning of God's dwelling with his people, and the gospel shows us the fulfillment. As we reflect on this chapter, we're reminded that God still desires to dwell with his redeemed people. And through Christ, we've become his dwelling place. He meets us with mercy. He sustains us with life. He lights our path with truth. We don't need to construct a sanctuary to invite God to be near to us. He's already come to us in Jesus, and he invites us to walk with him every single day. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of the Chapter a Day Bible Study. For more resources to help you in your walk with Christ and your understanding of the Bible, please visit my website at BibleStudyHeadquarters.com. And if you'd like to partner with me by becoming a supporter of this ministry, you'll see a few options to do so, again, at BibleStudyHeadquarters.com or in the description of this episode. As always, thank you for your prayers, thank you for your support, and thank you for your willingness to share this content with others. Have a great day, and I'll see you again right here tomorrow.